Our law requires that we promote public awareness of data processing issues, but particularly when it comes to children and children's data. And I think that links with the message that's come through pretty much every session we've had this morning, where we've been talking about education. And so we are looking at what we can do, or we have been looking at what we can do to make sure that children and young people understand the world that they're now living in, and the world that they will then be going into working in. We also felt it was important that we talk with children and young people, and not just either at them or about them, which I think too often we fall into the category of just going, let's all us grown-ups go and have a chat somewhere because we can fix it, but forgetting to bring the children and the young people into those conversations and to understand what it looks like for them. So we've launched our Project Bijou Seeds programme, which is our schools programme, designed by a teacher who works in our outreach as quality interventions with age-appropriate messages. And we start that at year 4 in the UK school ages, that's 8 to 9, and then we do it at 2-year intervals up until year 10, when children turning 14 or 15 years old. And that's so that we can take them through the different stages of the things that we think they need to know about, rather than bombarding them with one session once and then walking away and not talking to them again. So the first thing that we do, our Year 4 programme, revolves around Warrow, who you can see on the screen, who's our data bear. Warrow is a children's book that was written by Kirsty Bugor, who is our outreach officer. She wrote it. It reads a little bit like the Gruffalo, but better, can I say? It's all about a bear discovering the world and the world of data, and what the bear can do to make sure that she is safe and that she's got protection as she's embarking on looking around this world. And last year we launched the book in September, and then rolled it out to all Year 4 children across the island to tie in with World Children's Day in November. So they each got a visit by the author, which is the joyous thing you can do when you've got quite a small jurisdiction. I understand that's a bit more difficult for somewhere like Canada, but you know, good luck. So Kirsty went to all the schools, read the book to them. They all got to take the book home. They got badges that they could take with them as well, and they were also given parent and teacher guides as to how they could engage with the book when the children took them away with them. So that was a great success. The children really loved those. It wasn't all just about the badges, but I'm sporting them myself now because I made sure I got mine. The joy of the book is that not only is it a storybook, it's also a colouring book. So the illustrations in the book were done by our former Commissioner, Emma Martins, and they're all pencil line drawings, so you can go home and colour them in. So I'm hoping there's lots of very interestingly coloured Warrows kicking around the island. There's also a flying zebra, which was the result of a postcard competition that we ran last year with Year 7 students. We asked them to come up with ways in which they would superpowers that they felt people needed in order to protect their data. And there was one particular young lad who came up with the idea of a flying zebra that would find out that you're being hacked and would go and sort out the people at the other end of the hacking. So there's a flying zebra made his way into the book, because bless him, we thought that was quite sweet, and I want to know how to do that. I think that would solve everything. Then Year 6, we talked to the children in assembly, and we linked data protection to the UN CRC, so the United Nations Convention on the Rights of the Child, because all schools on the island are striving for awards, rights respecting school awards, and so we tied that message in with that because it's quite a clear understanding for the children. So we explained how personal data links with rights, and how it can then be used to make decisions about people, and how they need to be careful about making those sorts of decisions and about sharing data. And we touch a little on gaming and online activity. Then in Year 8, we build on that with discussion of risk, and we introduce social media, which of course is the interesting one. Year 8 students being 12 and 13 years old, so the age when they're supposed to be using social media, and of course whether or not anybody does now start at 13 with Facebook, when actually they've probably, some of them, been using it since 9, I don't know. But we introduced it at 12 and 13 because that's the age that they should be looking at, or shouldn't be using it below the age of 13. And we also introduced deep fakes, so we're going back to the idea we were talking about earlier about images and things, and particularly on the back of, I think, what was happening in schools in Spain, where children were creating indecent images of their fellow classmates, and circulating those around, and the impact that that sort of thing has on the individuals, and how people need to understand to behave properly. Our whole BGC's programme is built on the idea of how valuable people's personal data is, why it must be protected, and importantly, why we must treat others well. And I think that's part of what we're looking at getting out of the programme. And then by the time we get to year 10, we start looking at algorithms, digital tech and AI, and how that's all moving forward, and the implications that can have. And working in the schools, I think Kirsty has found it very enlightening to find out the sorts of things that the children are thinking about. And there's been some very interesting conversations about special category data and the things that form special category data, but some children are bemused by the fact that something like their care status is not considered to be an item of special category data, where to them that's very important, the fact that they've been on a journey with the state through a care journey, and the fact that that could potentially influence decisions made about them in the future, but that's not considered as important as some of the other things, as the other things that are special category data. And it's been very difficult for some of these children to get their head around why some categories are not considered as important. And that's useful from our point of view. We are currently creating a children's framework, having been inspired by the ICO's Children's Code, that will look to provide a framework to ensure all children's data or children's related processing it both aligns with the legislation, aligns with the UNCRC, and is done in a way that it means that the child's best interests are at the heart of that, and that means we can then build in those messages for those types of data that should really be high-risk data but possibly aren't covered. So that's been that's a useful process we're currently going through, our children's framework. We've done public consultation on that and got some quite good engagement through the schools. We held an educators round table so that we could get the engagement of head teachers on the island, and to find out how we could support the individuals and teachers to make sure that children understand how data impacts on their lives. Something else we've done is that we're a founder member of Digital ACE, which is a conference/trade show focused around the three concepts of aspiring, so children can aspire to have careers in the tech sector, the creativity that you can get by using tech, and also then making sure that we empower children to engage with these subjects in a safe manner. Rather than perhaps the idea of let's just stop them doing some of these things because it's too scary to deal with. How can we get people make it part of their experiences growing up?